Hey everybody, so it's time for another episode of NHL Remember Him. This is episode 17, I believe, and today we're going to talk about a defenseman that a number of you have asked me to do. Someone who spent a long time in the NHL, was a very, very good defenseman. I only caught the end of his career, really, being old enough to remember the end of it. But that person is defenseman Eric Desjardins, who had a tremendous NHL career. For some of you, especially younger guys who watch, younger people who watch my channel, you may not remember Eric Desjardins, but I can guarantee you that if you were watching hockey in the 90s and early 2000s, you 100% know who this guy is. He was a tremendous defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens and then for the Philadelphia Flyers. He played his whole career with those two teams and was really a tremendous guy to have on the back end. So let's get started. Eric Desjardins played 1,143 games in the NHL over the course of 17 seasons, really stuck around the league for a long time. He scored 136 goals and 439 assists for 575 points in the regular season. So while I think Desjardins was certainly mostly known for his defense, he certainly was no slouch offensively and point-wise either. While he definitely wasn't what I would call an offensive defenseman, he wasn't a strictly defensive defenseman either, because anyone who scores over 500 points in the NHL, especially as a defenseman, can put some points on the board. In the playoffs, he played 168 career playoff games over his career. That is a lot. He was in the playoffs most of the time during his career. He scored 23 goals and 57 assists for 80 playoff points. And that's certainly nothing to be ashamed of either. Desjardins' career started when he was drafted in 1987 in the second round by the Montreal Canadiens. I believe he was taken 38th overall that year. His first NHL season came in 1988-89. He only played 36 games, but that was when he broke into the NHL. And he played with Montreal from 1988 all the way until the 1994-95 season, where he was then sent to Philadelphia. He would then spend the rest of his career with the Philadelphia Flyers from 1994-95 all the way up until his retirement in 2006. Long, awesome, great career for Eric Desjardins. He was generally, he had some really good offensive seasons where he had 50-plus points, especially with Philadelphia. The point total certainly decreased in the 2000s as he got to the late stage of his career. His last four seasons, he had 25 points, 32 points, 12 points, and 24 points his last year. But back earlier than that, he had certainly multiple 30-point seasons, multiple 40-point seasons, and even a couple of 50-plus point seasons with the Flyers in the late 90s. This guy was a great shutdown defenseman, a great two-way defenseman, and just an absolute rock to have as a part of your blue line. He's a guy that I remember watching play towards the end of his career, those mid-2000s, 2004, 2005, 6, around there. I definitely remember him and with the Flyers, and he was still a very good defenseman even at the end of his career. I wish I got to see more of him. I wish I I wasn't old enough to remember him in those mid to late 90s years where he was really, really good. But that was when I was being born. So anyway, a tremendous career for Eric Desjardins. Definitely a guy I remember towards the end, and somebody certainly worth remembering and talking about. If you don't know who he was, if you don't remember him playing, I would suggest definitely looking up some game highlights and some of his highlights, is certainly from the late 90s and early 2000s with Philadelphia. And he was just a tremendous, tremendous player who obviously was very, very effective at what he did, given the fact that he played with his entire 17-year career amongst two teams, and a long time with Philadelphia, and he stuck around the league for 17 years. That shows you how good and how effective he was as a defenseman. So, Eric Desjardins, a great player, tremendous two-way defenseman, and certainly a guy worth remembering and talking about. And over 1,100 games, over 500 points, another almost 200 playoff games. I mean, just ridiculously good, and 80 points in the playoffs. Remarkable career for him, and a great player. So that does it for this episode of NHL Remember Him. Certainly, some of you younger kids in the crowds may not remember him, but I suggest looking him up for sure. And for you older guys, or people my age and older who certainly have seen him play and remember him playing, he was a heck of a player. So thank you for watching. With that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.